this. All right. Well, thank you very much, King. Congratulations on the win. Let's send it back over to the couch.
We're back. Bryce, are you okay?
Yeah, I had a leg cramp halfway through the segment. As soon as the camera switched off, I'm just like, ah!
You held it
What is
together very
going on?
well, but as soon as it cut away, immediate pain.
Right, like,
You're in my seat.
no.
Can we address this?
I'm here
We
all
should
day.
address this.
This is my seat.
It goes in order of favorites for like everyone.
But
Me,
I'm your best
Jake.
friend.
It's like, I always sit there. This
That's
is
true.
definitely a worse
That's-
angle for me.
This
We're
is
just gonna have to put up with it.
this is the 4-man couch. I don't cast
That's
the
true,
game.
'cause
I
you're-
get the inside couch.
That's it. And you always complain that you sit on the edge, so it's about time you get
Question.
Do you know that episode of The Simpsons where the people like steal his house, like the Carney folk,
Yeah.
and he has his arse groove in the couch?
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally sitting in Rusty's arse groove right now, and it is uncomfortable.
Two things. Did you just say folk? The Carney folk?
I
Is that a
think you
thing?
did.
That's a thing.
But yeah.
Second
I
of
know.
all, question. 3 people in the car, 2 in the front, 1 in the back. Where do you sit? Behind the driver, behind the passenger, in the middle.
Behind the driver because
Safest
Next.
place.
it's the safest place.
Next.
It's the safest
No,
place.
it's safest place. Behind the driver.
In
'Cause
the
driver's-
middle.
No.
You're a part of the conversation. You strap in. There's no seat in front of you. You can be like, hey, guys, how's it going?
You
and
sit
it's great
behind
time.
the driver because
would
if they
hate that.
swerve,
The
the driver
safest-
swerves away from
Oh,
the danger,
God, you
and
guys are
therefore
such
you're on their
dads.
side.
And also because I don't want to look at your melon in my rear view
Such
mirror the
bloody
whole
da-
time.
yeah,
'cause
that's
I'm probably
true.
driving.
That's a problem. I'm definitely quite tall and like,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
You don't have parking view through my big forehead.
It's just foreign. And besides, I'm sitting in the back
not a
reading
forehead, it's a 5 head.
because we need to catch up on the book that we're reading for the OPL Book Club, which we'll definitely launch. All right. It's time for Ask Nick Bag.
Oh, okay.
We got some questions.
the Nick bag?
The Nick Bag?
The Nick box?
The Nick Box?
What's it called?
I don't know. I feel like we should ask the chat. They do the rest of the show. First question. This one comes in from Beck.
Okay. Hey, Beck.
Hey, Nick boy. And I suppose
And by proxy, everyone else on the show?
Bryce check. I was wondering if any of the casters play ARAM. Also, thank you for being the best bunch of LOL presenters in the world, quality banter, and best eye candy. Love, Beck, XO. There you go.
That's very nice.
That's very nice. Anyone play
And
ARAM?
now I'm going to insult you.
Go.
Filthy casuals
Filthy
play
casual.
ARAM.
There you go.
I will say there's 3 people sitting on the couch, 1 of them on the desk. This guy plays ARAMs. This guy plays ARAM.
He
That's all-
ARAM.
He's an ARAM goblin. Well,
No,
Am I a goblin?
you're a normie goblin. You're
Yeah.
not an ARAM goblin, maybe. I don't know. Are you an ARAM
I
goblin?
play normals and ranked, but then at like midnight when you're like just one more before bed, always an ARAM.
Yeah, okay.
Do you play Earth, though? Or
No, I'm actually
Rapid Earth, or
I'm
whatever it's called?
I'm a very serious League of Legends player. I
Yeah.
strictly play solo
Earth
queue.
also sucks.
Okay, I don't have stick in the game. I don't
don't
play
have anything
ARAMs.
for
I don't
that?
play Earth. What was the question? Was it like?
It was.
Do you have any tips?
No, do any of the casters play ARAM?
Oh,
She
okay.
just wants to know.
No.
Yeah.
She's
nah.
just curious.
Unfortunately,
No.
There you go.
well, Zach does.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah,
yeah, brother.
Zach does. So there you go. You got Zach. And I've played a bit of ARAM. It's fun.
It's fast. It's fun.
Yeah, good way to
ARAM.
learn a champion potentially.
That's
Without the stress of having to tank a whole team for like 30 minutes.
You may not know this. In the past, there have been professional players. I don't know about any in the OPL that are like, it's good warm up because it's like team fight practice.
Yeah, totally.
Like you don't have to sit there laning and stuff like
It's
that.
just
You
the
get
best part of the game.
You just get to throw skill shots and you get to like warm up your mechanics. I never believed in that personally, but
And it
I
showed.
mean, it's a cool thing. Excuse me. All I did was play skill shot champs. I played Thresh my entire career.
You
And
played
that's why he's a
Lulu with the
caster now,
Thresh
right?
as well.
Yeah, at the end of my career, and now I'm on the bloody couch.
The chat is divided on ARAM. Some of them like it, some of them don't. I can't be bothered to work out the statistics otherwise. To Nick Boy,
Hey.
my name is Ianu, I want to say, Ianu, and I wanted to ask the OPL broadcast team for tips on how to get out of D4. Even with the MMR changes, I could not secure a spot in Master by spamming games. How do I get better as a player? I'm an
Okay.
ADC main, Chief
Ooh.
Beanie.
I was going to say this is actually the hardest, like, scientifically the hardest place to climb out of. You get clamped super hard in bottom of diamond because the threshold to drop out of diamond is super, like it's very lenient. You can
Yeah,
stay in
forgiving.
diamond with like 7 losses or whatever. And like what people find is even though they have these big win streaks, they've been clamped from their losses previously. So the reality, like if I was giving you the dead serious question, get a new account, level it to level 30, do it again.
Really?
Because the reality is that you get clamped very hard.
All right.
Now, in how to become a better player, I'm going to say that 80 carries don't buy enough pink wards. As a generalization, and that don't play around vision very well. That's my generalization. So if you find that you're one of those people, make sure you're prioritizing pink wards over everything but BF swords and zeals, and play around your vision better.
Very serious advice, right? Like if you actually want to get good, like spamming games, the worst way to do it. Like play a game, watch like laning phase back if you're an AD carry. The best way to win solo queue is by affecting more than just your lane. Shitting on your lane does literally nothing if you just stay in your lane. And so this is advice more general sense. It's much easier for like solo laners and supports, but roam around the map. Even as an AD carry, if you want to play like good laners that can affect elsewhere, Ashe is a very good one. Varus, like set up stuff. Also, my most underrated tip, be a pinger. Not the annoying guy that missing pings your top laner when he misses a Shen taunt. Unlucky Maxi, Fish. But like, be a pinger, like ping what you want your team to do. If you think Baron is a good call, ping the hell out of it. I see so many people, even standing behind pro players, like that I've been around in the past couple of years. I'm not just flaming my team right now, but like they'll sit there and be like, oh, what is this guy doing? Why isn't my team walking to Baron? Ping the bloody Baron.
Yeah.
Just hold Alt and then click your button and go right.
I can attest to this as well. I was on the Chinese server for a year. The only way I can communicate was pings, and I climbed to master. So it's definitely an effective method.
Yeah. Don't spam games.
Also,
watch something back.
Spam pings.
Spam pings, and then affect more than your lane.
Don't spam games, spam pings.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying.
And one last rule. If your lane is warded and you know it's warded, and I'm about to gank your lane as a jungle main again at the moment, please, warded ping. Like, it is the most useful ping in the game for a jungler. I hate walking into a second brush and then getting, like, my 80 carry backs off the wave and, like, hey, dude, sorry, that second brush is warded. Like, just ping the brush.
Yeah.
And I assume, just for some people out there who may not know, the reason you're saying not to spam games, because often you are told just, you know, percentage-wise, you just got to play enough and you will climb, or it's that 10,000 hour thing. The reason is that you're just reinforcing bad habits if you have them. You're not learning necessarily, you're just doing.
A lot of mental
reset.
Yeah, like my fighting coach always used to say, practice doesn't make perfect, perfect practice makes perfect.
you go.
So you need to play when you're playing perfectly.
All it
Spam.
takes is a glass of water, and that resets you much more than just hitting the angry queue up button. It's 3 minutes.
That's true. Play some ARAM. It's the best thing in the game. Next question. This one's from the Twitter menace, BBB. And I want to know the answer to this. I think this is great. Is there any rule against players standing up and swapping PCs and champions mid-game?
Yes.
There is a
100%.
written rule?
There's even a rule that says you can't stand up. So let alone the swapping champion.
What if you didn't swap chairs? What if you just slid your chair over and like switch positions but never actually removed yourself buttock-wise from the fabric?
Your headset
That's a
was
count.
still
I
on.
think, you're not allowed to take your headset off. That would require headset off. Unless you're like,
What if you
let's use
just-
like mid lane jungle
Yep.
as an example,
Yep.
and then they like somehow manage to slide their chairs like one behind the other.
Yep.
And then imagine like playing Lee Sin, and all you hear is Zoe just going, whoosh, like throwing like bubbles around as you're
Yep.
doing a camp. That'd be super annoying. But
Well,
like, I mean,
I don't know. Like, sometimes you might be listening to music, you might be listening to a podcast or something. You listen to Jake's sort of 476-hour podcasts.
Yeah.
You're not 100%
listening to a
focusing
These
on
good
the
one at the
game.
moment.
You are?
Yeah.
In the same one?
Yeah, Dan Carlin still. But I'm listening to his Blueprint for Armageddon.
That's a good one. I listen to that one as well. I
tell
reckon
you,
we
these
should try
guys are
this.
listening to
So
White
what
Noise.
you're saying is that
Pink
the
Noise, I think.
players could do this if they stayed in their chair, they swap positions but keep headphones.
I still think it's account sharing, which is against the terms of service.
Is it their account though?
Yes, absolutely it is, because it says Ord Spooks and Ord Swiffer, and if they swap chairs, they're
a
no
good
longer
point.
playing on Ord Spooks
Alright, cool.
or Ord Swiffer.
or
Okay.
they could swap chairs and like get the cameras, the
Yep.
player cams, and just angle them differently.
Ooh.
They
So
could
then,
just roll
you know
swap.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, they
So
could
then-
legit just play different roles and stay in the same seats.
You know, my favorite.
You go.
No,
One of my
this is
favorite
mid-game.
things. One of my favorite things that has ever happened in like this realm of stuff was
Yep.
like TSM, where Reggie's just like, man, Dyrus, you have no idea how to ban. I'm the top laner now, and like
Yeah.
he went first pick, and so he got to control the draft, and Dyrus was even though he was the top laner.
Well,
in
no,
mid
the
lane,
reason was is because
respectively.
like it wasn't he doesn't know how to ban. It was like Reggie used to change his mind at the last moment all the time, and Dyrus can't type. He can ban,
Oh,
but he's
okay.
not a quick typer.
Yeah.
You even like hear him used to talk about on his stream all the time. Big Dyrus fan, by the way. I love you, Dyrone. He gave me lessons 7 years ago.
Yeah.
What if you did that thing, and I'm about to spoil Ocean's 11 here, what if you did the thing where you actually pre-recorded you playing a game of League of Legends, then somehow hacked into the OPL system, played that video, but then during the game, that video pops up, you're wearing the same clothes as you are when you're actually playing, and then you swip then, but no one knows you've switched because it's actually like now a pre-recorded video there in the little...
And you have to You have to somehow remove the ref. You have to.
You need to kill the ref.
Yeah.
That's
If you
true.
pull that off, I feel like you kind of deserve to just get the swap.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
and
I
then
think, at that point, you just
And then you
it's yours.
realize you're two professional players off-rolling in a professional game, and you're both just
Yeah.
garbage.
All right, I
And
love
like
it.
the other one.
The
Yeah.
final question.
I like it.
Dear Nick Boy, I'm a year 11 student who is stressed out about what I want to study when I leave school.
Oh.
I know that at this point in time, I don't really need to worry about what I'm going to study in the future, but I'm really excited about the prospect of going to university and want to have some kind of idea going into year 12. I have a very wide variety of interests, including law, animal biology, journalism, English, and creative writing. My question for you, Nick, is what career pathway do you think I should pursue? From Emerson.
There was 5 options there, and 3 of them were like English literature based.
That is true.
That's a good ratio.
Potentially 4,
That's a
because I would
60%.
include law in that.
Oh,
in
yes,
some
4.
way.
That's an
Yeah.
80%.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an inkling there.
Because we were talking about this last week.
Were we?
Yeah, about the idea of like when you hit our age,
Yeah.
is the point where you go, you've committed to a career.
Yeah, this
and
is
that
it.
and that it's
And I'm
harder
having
to
one of those moments right now where I'm like, I committed wrong.
yeah
After the
literally
last conversation we just had.
sitting in Rusty's butt groove.
Yeah,
You're like, is this
thinking,
really
where
it?
did it all go wrong? No, so my dad gave me a piece of advice. So I had done 2 different uni degrees. I was sitting in a bath and I was trying to read The Crying of Lot 49. I don't know if you guys have read the book.
I have not.
Terrible book. Dropped it in the bath.
Did you say sitting in a bath or sitting at a bar?
In the bath.
Okay, yeah.
And
yeah.
that was
I'm
when your
naked.
dad
Like,
gave
picture
you
this. I'm
advice.
naked. I'm in the bath.
So you're in a bar
I
naked.
got the book.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
Yep.
And I'm falling asleep because I just done overnight at Macca's.
Yep.
Yep.
And I just dropped the book in the bath.
Yep.
So I put my towel around my waist, I get out, I walk into my dad's room, and I throw my book on his bed, like saturated book.
Wet book.
And I'm like, I am not doing literature. And that, because I love books. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a massive fan of books. I was like, if this is what they teach in high schools, the system has failed, like, I'm out. I'm not being a teacher anymore. And my dad just said, just do lots of things. And then you'll find out what you don't like. And work's always work, Jake.
Yep.
So just take the thing that feels the least like work.
Yep.
And now I'm an esports commentator. And even though you make it feel like work sometimes,
I
Jake,
do. I
I'm
really
still
do.
here every week, loving life.
Bryce.
I don't have advice.
Bryce doesn't have advice. Never listen
Bryce
to
actually,
Bryce.
no, so Bryce is actually, so he's a good case study because what he did is he fell into his career because he
Yeah, I did.
was good at everything. So he wasn't like me where he had to make these hard choices. He comes from a great family. His parents are lovely people. He was at university doing fine. He got 90s at his TER score. He hates all these embarrassing facts. And then he was still challenger at the game when the game came out. Caught the wave there. I landed him a cushy job at right. I didn't do any of those things. And he's just fallen. Like, when you're
It's
good at
true.
everything, like,
You
he
fall ass
probably
backwards
could be a
into
surgeon
life.
right now.
Yeah.
And his brother saves people's lives. Bryce, you know what? You're a pretty freaking amazing person.
Except not compared to your brother,
Bryce.
though, who is apparently much better than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a top bloke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. What do I say?
There you go. You
Thanks,
just
bud.
agree.
That
You
was
just
re-
agree.
That was really wholesome.
That was very nice.
I feel very loved on the OPL.
And
I
I
took a
agree with
mistake
what
this
you said
week.
about him and what you said about you, that you just need to do the thing that you enjoy doing because you're going to hate work if you don't like
Yeah.
it. If you're going into something just for money or whatever and you don't enjoy doing that thing, it's going to be a nightmare for the rest of your life.
Also, the one thing I will say is gone are the days of having a job for 50 years.
yeah.
Totally.
If you must change jobs, like, because you're not enjoying it anymore, like, the day of working 9 to 5, like, the reason people used to be able to do that, if you're a banker,
Yep.
4:30 hit, you're just...
Yeah, you're gone.
Nowadays, you're a banker, you got customers calling you at like 2 o'clock at night saying like, oh, you know that house you gave me a home loan for? Well, the tap's leaking.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't care.
You ruined our country. I've launched a royal commission into you.
Yeah, exactly right. So I just think like also be willing to change.
Absolutely.
Sunk
Most
cost
people
fallacy.
change their, I think the statistic now is like 2.8 times in your lifetime
Yeah.
you change careers, not just jobs. There you go. That's Ask Nick Bag, whatever the segment's called.
was a
We'll
good
figure
one.
it out.
I liked that one.
That was a good one. Well, you
Yeah.
got a lot of compliments. That's why you enjoyed
No,
it.
I liked it before I got the compliments.
You're a
These were
handsome
some-
dude.
Thank you very much.
These were some good questions.
I am handsome. Next game, Chiefs versus Gravitas.
Yeah.
It's Chiefs. It's Gravitas. That's basically all we need to know. Decoy is your Twitter POV
Hey.
stream. We're skipping all of this.
Smoke
We're
'em,
just
Daddy.
throwing right to the desk. Smoke 'em, Daddy.
Thanks. Man, the compliments are flying free.
Daddy.
That I wasn't. Wait, is that from me or you? I actually don't know.
Just let him laugh at it.
Yeah,
You have to wait. Give him a second.
Oh, so good.
Smoke him, daddy.
that's gonna be the tagline for the day. Can we just need to have like an official OPL motto and it'll be that.
Smoke him, daddy is the official motto of the
Yeah.
OPL. Fair enough. Fair
I'm
enough.
writing that one down. Hey, I want to actually add an addendum to Spawn's very inspiring message of
Okay.
like what to do. The whole like be willing to change. I love that because I went to school for engineering, and I just totally swapped around when I realized that esports was a lot more fun than coding.
Do what you love, so you love what you do. Is always the way to look at it.
Never work a day, and you're always working all the time in your life. Yeah, all that stuff. That's definitely how that saying goes. It's Chiefs versus Gravitas. Chiefs are going to start up by banning LeBlanc on blue side. Now, Chiefs have lost 2 in a row, Rusty. This is the worst skid that they've had all split. The only skid that they've had all split.
Yes, of course. Now 7-3 in the standings. The Chiefs want to get some redemption. Gravitas on the back of a 2-0 week, however, in contrast to that of the Chiefs, looking to make that potentially 3. But it's a hard team to go up against is obviously the first thing that you have to look at. So as we get through this draft, we'll see where the teams start to go. We've had some very different things today in terms of team styles. You know, the order game just before was a very different style. Other teams have been opting into team fighting, and that's a big thing that you may continue to see here. And we'll see where the identities go for these teams on the new patch.
I think that's fair. You know, this is patch 9.3 still, but there are changes with the whole Frostmancy dipping
Well, yeah,
out.
Frostmancy's gone,
Yeah.
so people still
And,
adapting
you know,
between patches.
Chiefs, they kind of made a bet on the Frostmancy, and it kind of bit them in the behind a little bit there. I want to see Big Swips back on, you know, something a little bit different than that. I want to see him get in CS. Now, Vladimir banned away Yasuo. Yasuo's going to occupy the ban column consistently. Like, this is like my solo queue games.
Yeah, Yasuo, ever since the AD changes have come into effect, note that on patch 9.4 he's even seen some nerfs. He was a little bit too powerful. So he's going to be banned a fair amount this weekend, but we're already 3 picks deep.
Yeah, so the Thresh comes in first for Ayla on the Chief side, but Gravitas pick up that combo that Spawn and I were talking about last game potentially coming in, which is the Galio J4. Now, Galio was support last time. Is he still?
Okay, how do you want me to answer this, Pyro? Because I don't know.
Well, that's the answer.
They can go everywhere.
Yeah, they're flexing it up.
Jarvan can go everywhere, and Galio can go in 2 roles himself. So we'll see where they go as the draft starts, but for what it's worth, Gravitas with 2 picks secured have gone for flex picks, which is usually a very smart thing to do early into a draft phase. It doesn't show what a composition does in terms of lane assignments, but what it does show is what the composition does as a team fight. So they've revealed that aspect, which does give the Chiefs the opportunity to pick into it.
That's very fair. We will see an Urgot locked in, most likely for Swiper there, and Claire picks up the Rise. You know, an interesting matchup is going to be that mid lane, because I feel like Gravitas have had so much success off of Harry, and he will pick up the Syndra in the mid lane to match that Rise.
Yeah, I would say that as Harry has gotten better, or maybe it's confidence, you know, whatever it is, as his performance has improved, Gravitas have actually started improving around him as well, getting more victories overall. So
yeah, I'll talk about that in game as well, because I really think it has been like individual performance, and like the team has kind of leveled up around him. It's been an interesting thing to see the evolution of Gravitas.
certainly. We'll have to see if it is just an anomaly or if they can continue with consistency. That is always going to be my word of the split right now, is consistency.
Versus anomalies, for sure.
Teams have been struggling with consistency across the board.
Best of ones, lots of crazy things can certainly happen. Gravitas in round number 2 will ban the Jinx away. It's a champion that has seen a resurgence as well here in the OPL.
Yeah, Jinx just taken off the board. Raze is someone who does play a lot of AD carries, so the Jinx is a very targeted thing. Low range champions can usually be a consideration now in response. With the Jinx gone, she has the rockets, she has the long range, so Gravitas perhaps setting themselves up for a pick, or they are just taking away from their respective opponents. Urgot is one of the more uniquely capable champions at setting up for resets on the Get Excited and starting a team fight off for a Jinx.
Another strong AD carry banned away. The Vayne will disappear now.
Okay.
So this is kind of interesting when you have both teams yet to pick an AD carry. So the pool starts to get drained really fast.
Yeah, but they've also just banned 2 completely different styles of champions here, Gravitas. The only thing we can say for certain is that they do a lot of late game scaling in their damage.
That's true.
Perhaps trying to limit that scaling pool, but the Chiefs are banning away the utility style AD carries. Ashe is one of the best scaling of the utility. But there is still a Kai'Sa available. There's still Varus of the utility tree. There is the Tristana, like you mentioned. Sivir is also on the board.
Yeah, there's plenty of AD carries for sure, and you never know. Maybe this is when we start to see the mage carries coming back in the bottom lane. But another one we didn't even mention is the Xayah, and it's left up for raid, so that'll get locked in.
Yeah, Xayah going to be secured. Now, we don't know what the response will be from Raze specifically, but note that while it could be the Trist, it could also be something like a Draven. You saw the Callista hover as well, also possible. He's got the Thresh in the support role, so those two work very well together with empowered auto attack damage and a strong laning phase. but it's going to be the Tristana this time around.
It adds a lot of wave clear and push for Chiefs, right? Because you look at the lineup and, yeah, like Ryze can already do a decent bit of that, but kind of on like a bit of a rotation, right? So this is a little more consistency. The Urgot would have a harder time pushing it.
If you're looking at wave clear, though, Raze would have to go the Static Shiv build before he truly has it.
That's true. Maybe a little bit.
They're a little bit item blocked by that.
And Lee Sin coming in from only. Okay, cool. So this is a rounded out composition, and this seems... I want to say this seems pretty comfort Chiefs.
Yeah, it's also fairly pick focused. You know, it's not a Jinx getting excited, but it is resets on jumps potentially there as well for Raze on the Tristan. He scales up very well into the late game, as does the Ryze, and the Lee Sin and the Urgot are supplementary for early to mid game strength, which will be a very well-rounded overall style of composition from the Chiefs if they focus on pick. Now, Gravitas, they've responded.
Last second swap up to the Aatrox for Pabu, which means Pralus will be the one piloting the Jarvan. And it will, in fact, be a Galio support once again, this time on Decoy. And you can catch that Galio support on the POV stream this game as well.
I'll be very curious to see how he goes. They've got a Jarvan-Galio combo as well, so keep your eyes peeled for the capabilities of that comp. As we get onto the Rift and as they start getting those ultimates available, level 6 is a big, big point of power for Gravitas as a composition. But strong early laning phases, you would say, across the board as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to be setting ourselves up for some nice action early on, and it's going to be a big clash because Chiefs, up until last week, seemed close to untouchable. But now, after 0-2, they're mortal. Gravitas have been on a win streak. They've been surging up the standings, and now they have a lot of motivation to get ahead on the board because we just had the fight between the 5-5s, and Gravitas were the third team in that conversation. It's a new esports org. So it was kind of hard to know where to place those expectations, but some of the players have certainly stepped up, delivered some hype. There has been consistency issues, as you pointed out, but I feel like just about everybody on this lineup is capable of delivering a big play if they need it.
I'd say it's very easy to say at this point that every win matters now, especially for the middle of the pack teams. The higher you finish in the regular season, the closer you get to buys being available in the playoffs run as well. So every game where a middle of the pack team plays each other is a must win. Every game you take against a top of the table team, if you get that upset, one step closer.
That's definitely the case. Talk a little bit more about this match. We are joined by the Gravitas coaches, Juves. What's going on, man?
Good to see you guys again. Not much. Just finished my pick ban and decided to come in and say hello.
Oh,
that's very kind of you.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very nice. So let's talk a little bit about your pick ban. You kind of had a little bit of a switcheroo at the last minute. A lot of flexing. Have you guys really been focused on trying to keep your opponents in the dark in the draft phase last few weeks?
I think with the as of I guess recently we've really opened up our champion pools and it makes drafting a lot easier. So like yeah, it was just I guess that's just been like a very big emphasis. It's like let's be hard to pick ban against. Like let's be unpredictable because from our comp right, like it's like you know Aatrox hasn't been played that much as recently. Jarvan, that's the first time seeing Pralus on Jarvan. Like Galio support here, you know, that's another new thing. So yeah, I think it keeps teams on their toes. And now it's like when you verse us, they're not really sure about what we're going to pick.
Yeah, and talk to me about execution with this comp that you've picked for yourself as well, because there are some pretty obvious combos, but you're against a pick composition. So as the stage coach for them, how do you see this in your mind being executed on the Rift?
I like to call the comp that we're playing also very similar comps in essence, R-button comps. Like you're literally playing R-button champs. Your champs are good because of their R-buttons, which is like ultimate unless you unbind them and put it on some other key. Whereas like I think Chiefs comp is a little bit harder to execute in terms of like they need to play 4-1. Sure, if they get ahead, sure they can team fight, but like in a gold even game, it's like they have a little more intricacies and they have to play a little bit smarter. And there's this, whereas like ours is, we want to fight, let's go fight, kind of thing. Yeah. I guess.
Is that something you like as well as a preference for your team, or is it just the way the draft panned?
I've kind of always been. I think everyone kind of followed my career is like I was always I wanted to fight kind of guy, and I think our team does very well in the chaos. Like they're very good mechanically, and like it's just one of those things where here we go.
Yeah, Raid's gonna die. This is going to be first blood, unfortunately for you, Juice.
Yeah. Well, anyway, as I was saying, our team does thrive a bit in like the skirmishes and fighting all the time. So yeah, it is a good comp draft.
All right, one last question before you head out here. Pralus kind of waiting in the wings. I want to ask you a little bit about kind of enforcing your will on this team, because you're always the visible element. You're always making the big noise here. As Pralus flashes forward, forcing Swiper to go out.
You want to ask that again?
Yeah, sorry.
Let me try that. Yeah, that was in the middle
of the
setup. Yeah, so it seems like whenever I see things on social media and otherwise for Gravitas, you're always kind of front and center. So you talk about kind of getting the team to get focused on like forcing these crazy plays and playing within chaos. Is that kind of also the impression that you give to the team like out of the game as well, getting them all hyped up like that?
Well, I just think that it's good to, like, you need a balance between being enthusiastic and wanting to play the game and being in the right mindset, and then also you don't want to get them too over the line of I'm so excited, I'm shaking kind of thing. So I think I'm just trying to, because I come from a different background, and I found things that worked for me, and I'm trying to just give them a taste of like what worked for me, what trial and error over my years of football and League of Legends, and just see what works for them. And like, you know, if it means me like having a laugh with them or firing them up with doing a video or like getting them to think about things, then you know, I'm willing to try it. And I think they've been really receptive to a lot of the things that I've done with them. So yeah, it's kind of like a learning process, but also just get it from feedback what works for them and what doesn't work for them.
What works individually, yeah. Very insightful. Thanks for joining us, Juice.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, so we've had a little bit of action early on here, Rusty.
Yeah, we did.
Cut into between things. A first blood down bottom. That was almost anticlimactic because all of a sudden Raid was walking the wrong way.
Yeah, there was two parts to this, right? One was the play, which was only coming to the bot side of the map. They isolate Raid from decoy, so they do get that first pick kill. Of course, Juice has departed us, so don't worry, everyone. The second part of it was the reaction from Gravitas. Now, they see the play bottom. Jarvan level 4 with red buff immediately goes towards the top side. He knows there'll be no counterplay from their opponents, but Swiper trying to be as respectful as he possibly can, but still wanting to get the farm, get the CS as well. They look for an opportunity, and it was to match the flash. It felt like Prayless with the flag drag, but doesn't quite hit the mark. And so they just trade the flashes, and in the end, it's a pretty big win in the early game for the Chiefs. Now, there was still an experience advantage for Prayless in the jungle role because of the time expended, but only with the kill will catch up.
Should have no trouble doing it. Chiefs already out to an early gold start, and they're definitely not in any danger for the time being. You can even see Only is going to start wrapping down around here. Meanwhile, in the mid, though, Harry takes a little bit of chunk damage as he forces Claire back. And Harry was the one I really wanted to talk about for this team. We mentioned it in draft, that this player has, in the wins that Gravitas have, really stepped up. We might have to cut it short again.
He's on a ward,
He's
though.
on a ward this time. He's standing, but there's no flash for Swiper.
Swiper's just playing to keep him busy.
Yeah, he's going to have to crab walk away, though. Prayless will flag and drag, get the knockup. They pull him back on the chains. This is going to be a kill, though. Swiper, he kind of played himself.
Oh, actually, no, it was control warded. My bad. I didn't see the control ward from the screen.
Oh, wow,
yeah,
okay.
They didn't know he was there.
Never mind.
For a second, I was like, oh, Swiper's just playing to keep him busy, but he had no idea. So it's a good little pickup there from Gravitas. A repeat gank. Going somewhere where there is no summoner spell is the most logical conclusion. Swiper, no vision, no protection, no chance to survive, and now Prayless comes to the second lane.
And that's the level 6. Once again, flag and drag, and Prayless picks up the kill this time. Man, he's kind of just doing a little grab and go across the rift.
Yeah, just walks it down river, gets a second kill. Easy as you'd like for Gravitas here. Claire is running the teleport on his Rise, doesn't have the cleanse. So Syndra just hits the R button first to guarantee the stun. It's very smart for Gravitas, but it's also about knowing their damage. And they seem to be very confident in knowing that they have enough to kill him without getting the max damage Syndra ultimate. And that's 2 easy kills for Gravitas. Now a heading kills on the board.
Good coordination from the Gravitas mid and jungle, only trying to clip the wave here. It does stop a recall, so Harry backs off. Low mana, can't really respond to it. But Harry has been big. And again, this is really what I wanted to hit, because in the last 3 games, he played 3 big carries. You know, LeBlanc, Zoe, Syndra. In those games, the dude goes 16 kills, 5 deaths, and 26 assists. Like, I was doing the math earlier on, and I'm like, how big has he actually gotten in those games that they've won? And he's popped off in every single one. It's like an 8.4 KDA across 3 games, which is not always an indicator of everything, but it definitely means big action.
Claire.
He's been a big part of that team. But you know what's big as well is the dive for the Chiefs on the bottom. Decoy trying to play Decoy right now. It's a 1-for-1 trade with the 4-man dive, and Raid actually stays alive. Blast Cone is going to deny Only, but he's able to hop forward. That was a bit of a misplay on the Chiefs side.
I don't feel like that was necessary from the Chiefs. How else would you explain it? It felt like a force.
Yeah.
They just went super hard. They went with no hesitation. They knew they had the 4v2. But so early into the piece, Summon is available for Gravitas in the bottom lane as well. it really makes you wonder if they were just trying to make a play, not punish a mistake that had happened earlier. And I think that force is why the trade's there in the end. And if you really think about it, getting Syndra on a reset, the timing was fine, but the Rise doesn't gain anything from it. In fact, he's now 0-2. And that's a bit messy because Syndra comes back to lane, pushes it in, and has control of that 1v1 anyway, as it's a tier start. So Gravitas, they have their R buttons. Juve's called it an R button composition. He's absolutely correct, but they've been doing well before those buttons were even up.
No arguments here. Gold is pretty much dead evened out after all of that. So it was a 1-for-1 trade with the dive that Chiefs had instigated, and they're going to be right back at it again. Look at where Ayla is.
Yeah, the one big positive the Chiefs have is that they can rinse and repeat. No one flashed.
Yeah. But Decoy, I think, is really showing his worth as its Galio support right now because he's the reason.
Oh, Harry's in.
Now Harry's coming through, going to flash forward, get the taunt on it. Only he does manage to take the Lantern out, and the Unleashed power isn't strong enough to kill him just yet. But Harry is sniffing for blood this game.
But that's just basic League of Legends from Gravitas. They know that they're there. They have a ward, I believe, that spotted them as well. And just walking down, you can see the ward just next to Prayless. They just react. They just come down, they make a play. So this is the thing, like, credit to Gravitas. They're playing good reactive League of Legends. They're not letting their opponents get anything. And Prayless is being proactive, getting kills across the map. But what are the Chiefs thinking? They're going so hard on things that they're not actually 100% sure they can get.
And that's just what seems really bizarre right now, is that they're kind of trying to force big plays. Also, without Swiper, too, he's not going to have a teleport. He's just been trying to play the lane out, been behind in CS and levels, just evens up now to Pabu. It does seem like Chiefs are playing with an urgency that it doesn't seem that they need. Now, Ayla and Claire are going to be roaming up top, just for wards, though.
I wouldn't look at this composition of Chiefs and say that we get outscaled. You know, like, I feel like a Ryze and a Tristana is a fantastic late game comp. The utility of an Urgot is just boundlessly useful also. So yeah. I don't think that urgency is really what they're thinking. I think they've got agency and they're like, we can just do this. Let's just do it. Like,
but they're overcommitting a bit.
They are, positionally for certain, but they are still trying to generate leads for their win condition. And you can see a CS difference, first of all.
Whoop. Flash for flash. Yeah, 10 minutes into this game, definitely a few more attempts. Only there's been a lot of clutch wards that have stopped some plays against Gravitas. Though they've been doing great at warding where they've needed to. That one by Pabu is fantastic. Or it might have even been Prayless that put that down.
Swiper?
Swiper's limping away here. He's got no mana.
Oh, he's on.
Uh-oh. Ah, he walks out.
Just needs more dashes. Poor Pabu.
Pabu was having an okay game, though. He's kept the gold lead up, and, you know, he clearly
fine.
Wanted the Aatrox. He's good.
It's just a nerf champion. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right.
The point that I was getting back towards is that Raze does still have a CS lead. You know, he's 1-0-1, so the kills have gone to him. It started early at level 2, so that was a continuation of the punish, you know? Like, they've just gone hard into the Raze basket, and he is the perfect player. That's what he named himself in League as well. He knows when it comes to the team fights, whether he says it about himself or not, we know that he has what it takes to carry, even in deficits. You think back to last week when they're about 10,000 odd goal behind against the Bombers, you still felt like, for some reason, you felt like they could win it. And he always seems to have that capability.
Ace player, for sure. He's also on a champion that can reset. I mean, you talked about it's not quite the Jinx get excited proc, but you can hop, you can reposition. This is a team that can reposition very quickly. I mean, you look at everyone on the Chiefs lineup, and apart from Ayla, they all have the ability to kind of get in and out pretty quickly. Claire's got the portal, only can dash. Swiper can do Swiper things. He'll have teleport at some point.
Yeah, a good combination of utility and damage coming out from the Chiefs with their comp, but it is still heavily on the finesse path, and it is still heavily on the get the pick, get the execute. Not strictly get the resets, but get a number advantage and use that. So
I feel like they'll be able to do that if they can use Claire and only to their fullest.
It's going to take a little while for Claire to be used to his fullest in his current state, though. Does want to finish that first item, get the Archangels.
0 and 2 on the rise. Will be a little bit of time for the Chiefs, but Gravitas had to be pretty happy with how things have unfolded since they gave up that first blood. I do want to keep going back to Harry every time, but like every time I do, all of a sudden something happens, so I'm kind of trying not to jinx it here. But yeah, he has just been such a big mark player. And I wonder how much the team is setting him up for success and how much he's setting the team up for success.
And we can only wonder, really, when it comes to things like that. What we know about Harry is that we weren't sure if he was going to be a stage player. but we've seen him on stage now continue to get more and more momentum as the split progresses, and it feels like with his confidence that results have come for certain. So that's what you look at, and a pretty big part of that as well. And in this game even, when you think about how the map's going to continue to play out, Hayri has the long range or the mid-range stun against Claire, and they've got a Jarvan Galio that can come in at level 6, and they have those ultimates. So you'll see them start trying to get a sniff now, look for an opportunity to make a play. I would expect around the mid lane is the best place to look, and they're already hovering. Cop that only.
Comes in with the smite. That's such an alpha move. Comes in. Now I will smite your raptor. What are you going to do about it?
Silly goose. Oh, they're
going to go for the dive in on Claire. He flashes, walks away. Paba was in rune prison for a second. Decoy will throw down the taunt shield to Durand. This is going to be a pretty big hit on the turret plating, though.
Yeah, Ayla also rotating, so perhaps looking for a pick onto Decoy.
They do have the hook, no follow through. Claire's a little too low to go in.
What a positioning used there by the Gravitas roster. Moving into the middle lane, the hard force for plating. Chiefs still on the side lanes, getting some plates back themselves. Swiper getting a lot.
Yeah,
getting a whole lot. Actually, course-correcting top lane.
That's a lot of relief for Swiper because he was so bullied early on. That should pretty much negate that. And they're pound for pound on items as well with the Black Cleaver match.
Yeah, and he's also got 2 cloth armors instead of going towards the Ninja Tabi. So they are actually pretty close to matched in items. They also get some time and some tempo to control themselves in Ocean Dragon at 14 minutes. Now Gravitas will trade, but this is in response, and it's a very delayed response. And you'll see Swiper most likely on his path back to top lane go via the pit, see if they're there. He'll see it being done, which gives Chiefs approximately 4,000 health worth of time. He didn't see the health, however.
Yep. 2 crabs in the pit. Harry's going to
They want to fight it, but they won't be here in time.
Now this will go down. He waits for just a second. Going to pick that one up. Swiper wants to make the play. He gets the ignite off onto Praelis, and Praelis is going to be left for dead. Gravitas cut their losses, and they'll say we'll take that trade.
That's what they do. They lane swap. They bring the Thresh up even as well with the boots of mobility. They force the trade, at least for health off of Praelis. Now he does still get the eye. So at the end, if the Chiefs were maybe 5 seconds faster, that could have actually been a full stop, preventative perhaps of even that Herald being picked up. But not the case. They'll still take the kill. They'll still take the objective trade. And now we look towards Gravitas once again and say, what can you achieve with that Herald now in your pockets?
Well, as we keep saying, it's all about the R buttons in this game. I feel like Chiefs, or rather Gravitas, are going to want to win a fight before they go for anything else. And Chiefs are inside their jungle, taking other camps.
Yeah, utilizing the dead time where Praelis is not on the map. They give the blue buff to Claire as well, and now looking towards bottom lane, or at least hovering the area. Gravitas, no vision.
They still remember what happened last time, though. Not going to go for the dive. Do get chip damage on it. Something you can do as a Tristana. Now, this is a little bit of a different build that Raze has gone. The last Tristana we saw was Eye Edge first, and this is Rapid Fire Cannon completed first.
Which is curious. You know, we looked at this, and you mentioned perhaps they need wave clear through their AD carry, and that would warrant a static shiv. But he wants to be able to poke, use that Rapid Fire Cannon, have range as fast as possible, really.
If you time it well, you can still, off those explosive charges, you can still get a pretty good push going with Tristana early on.
I mean, you'll get one auto attack on an explosive charge. I'm talking like there is a Syndra staring you down, you get one auto attack off. Static shiv at least clears half the wave.
That's true in one go.
Rapid Fire Cannon is just a little bit safer, but that's the choice they've made. Of course, that does mean the Infinity Edge comes in second. And where I am curious is to see if he goes for the triple crit item build, because that would make more sense in this game, in my opinion, than perhaps the last game where they really needed a Last Whisper style item if you were Dream, in this case, for Order.
Yeah.
This time around, I would say a lot less resistances may be picked up. So more opportunity to go towards the 3 crit items before the Last Whisper.
That's fair. Chiefs really trying to make sure that they keep this vision cleared outside. Looks like Gravitas will pop the Rift Herald in the mid lane. Shelly going to go charging in. Shortest charge ever. But there's no minions, which means they actually saved the tower.
Yeah.
And tower falls in the bottom first, so Chiefs, after all of that, they win first brick.
And it wasn't during turret plating times either here, so they just locked down the turret. First brick gold going over to Raze solo as well. Ayla being very active on the map, has even found Pabu as they do look, but the force is there from Gravitas. They still trade in the end.
This just feels like such a push and pull game. Like every action has like well, I guess I'm going to quote Newton, equal and opposite reaction at this point. But they're not big. They're just, nobody's going ham on the plays. It's just every time one team does something, there's an answer, and the game pretty much stays at dead even.
Yeah.
There is a 1,000 gold lead for for Chiefs. That's it.
It very much is about a game of action and reaction. It even started at level 2. You know, you can't bring yourself back to that initial play and it happened on top side. And the difference there is, you know, it's not offense-defense teams. We're not playing a very basic style of league. It is the ebbing and flowing of momentum, of tempo, of priority, of vision control. You know, all these things come into play. Gravitas have had very good vision.
As Claire's on the
He's
run.
ulted.
Oop, into the pit he goes. Pretty easy pickings there for Harry. Frailus, though, is going to go down, and now Swiper tags in with Pabu, and it looks like he's going to be chewing up Harry. That ends up being a 1-for-2 Chiefs trade. Did not see that one coming.
That was so good from Claire. Note, he does not have cleanse. He has teleport, so he has to just dodge the stun. Harry throws out the stun initially while he's stuck inside the Jarvan ultimate, and you'll hopefully see that in a replay as well, because Claire just jukes it, kills him, and was honestly the smallest amount of time away from actually escaping, potentially with his life. Note that Frailus presses ult, and Claire just sidesteps. And now he's got the kill, and look how close this was. Almost untargetable through the Rise ultimate. That may have actually saved him. And then it results in the 2-for-1 trade here in favor of the Chiefs. That's just individual play starting to come up huge.
All right, anybody that complains about getting ganked by a Jarvan for the rest of time has to stop talking, because Claire could just show you how to do it. That was brilliant. What a fantastic way to turn a bad situation into a great trade. And Chiefs all of a sudden have that momentum. They're building on the gold lead. They're going to get the kickback. Doesn't matter if that hook doesn't connect. They still give the kill over to Claire. He's big on the board right now. Swiper is now getting the better of Pabu into a wave of minions. And Gravitas seem confused, not sure how to react.
I feel like you give the Chiefs a sniff. You know, you give them one opportunity to make a play, and that's all it took, and suddenly they explode on the map. You know, it hasn't resulted in the craziest of gold advantages, but it's growing rapidly in the past minute and a half alone, and I don't know if that'll slow down. They're hitting item spikes from these fights as well. They're really setting themselves up nicely to succeed through the rest of this game, and it's on Gravitas now. The onus is with them. Use their R button composition, slow the game down, and hit those ultimates when it matters. Because even in that top lane trade, while we look at Claire and we're like, that's a sick dodge, and it was, Harry could have pressed his ult first. You know, he could have scattered a bunch of orbs and got a guaranteed stun.
I just can't get over that. Give the Chiefs a sniff. What do they smell like, Rusty?
What do the Chiefs smell like?
Yeah.
I
Give them
mean,
a sniff.
Yeah, they get a sniff of, think of it like a wolf.
Sniff of victory.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter what the Chiefs smell like, but it's probably snack packs. Since
I just wanted to know.
I don't know.
Well, it smells like victory for sure. 2K up. Chiefs obviously are not out to like this incredible lead in terms of gold, but they do seem to have an edge, and the tempo is a big part of that. So the question is, now how does Gravitas respond in what has been a tit-for-tat game?
If tempo is a big part of it, then you reset tempo as best you can. You do that by getting better vision or just placing vision ward lines, you know, drawing a line and saying our composition will fight if they cross this area, and then advancing that forward step by step, inch by inch, of course, across Summoner's Rift as they are engaging.
Yeah, they do, trying to pincer out. Pabu is going to get popped into the world. Ender he goes, and down goes only to Raid. Chiefs snap the jaws shut, and they take down, or rather, try to get the jaws snapped shut, but they end up losing only their jungler. Gravitas do answer back.
And there you go. You can see the line of control what's placed on the map through the river towards their red buff. Only walks into place one just a little bit too deep and immediately gets punished. Good play from Gravitas getting the pick. It was a hard-earned kill, but it is one that they secure, and that's a tempo reset right there. They get that reset. Now they get to start fresh. They have to be very wary, however, of how strong their opponent's composition is right now. The Rise is big, the Tristana is big, but they get that opportunity.
But they do. Swiper waiting here. Pabu pushes some minions down the line. It's going to be the fight for the Baron control pretty soon, but most players playing still on the side lanes. Pabu will sniff out Swiper as he walks his way into lane, and that's the end of that. I thought we might have an all-in.
We're at that point. The Swiper was just hanging out. He's getting a bit of vision behind enemy lines.
He's just doing crab things in the rush.
Waddle's on in. He's like, this is my lane now. And Aatrox is like, yeah, fair enough. and then he'll go do the same
Such
thing.
an equitable game between the two top laners.
What else can
Only
you
is in
do when
danger
you don't
again.
hit each other at this point? No one does anything.
It's a wet noodle fight. I mean, I've seen players do that, despite the fact they
usually
know how it goes.
Maokai's, though, that try and hit them for passives.
Yes, that's fair. So it's Ward Wars. That's what we've turned into here, Rusty.
The dance in the jungle. Usually with Ward Wars, you like to pick a quadrant, and that is your point of focus. You know, for Gravitas, with Baron being up and being on the red side of the rift, they would be looking at their top side red buff quadrant, that area of the map. You can see the Chiefs have actually littered in some very smart areas with wards, but they haven't prevented access to the river, which is still a line that Gravitas have got for themselves. This is all minimap viewing right now for you all. You can see they still have a point of access if the Baron ever gets started, and that is the point where the Chiefs need to quell it if they want to threaten it, but I don't think they do. I don't think the Chiefs are going to just say, we start Baron and bring them towards us. I think it's more we get vision and catch them trying to ward deeper.
Chiefs definitely done a great job to stabilize and get themselves out to the lead after, you know, fairly back and forth, but slim advantage in the early game over and over again. Teams definitely keen to play this one slow. I think Gravitas are probably a little bit more controlled than we have seen them. I wonder if this is to do with, you know, the nameplates,
I don't
because
know.
they've beaten teams that are around them or just above them in
But
the
do you
standings.
think it's fair to say that this is more slow or reserved? Because I feel like that's just how Gravitas plays.
Yeah, maybe that's fair.
In a lot of their wins, they would be slow and reserved. It's about how their opponents play around them, really.
No, that's true. They do tend to react more to their opponents. Maybe I'm just thinking of games where they tend to get accelerated because other teams play faster against them. And here is the reaction. Decoy getting one taunt off onto Ayla. Pabu looking to go forward, forces the flash off the Thresh. Chiefs didn't want that fight. They didn't have Swiper either in the area.
Yeah, I think Only was going to kick Raid there, but he ulted, so they get an ultimate traded, you would have said, but Only has to flash because the reinforcements arrived. So the end of it, still a pretty big win for Gravitas, forcing them out of that area. Look at the wards once again placed on the map, so they've got a moment of control. They force Claire away top. They win the skirmish near mid and doesn't result in kills, but that control is a lot.
They keep pushing on the side waves pretty effectively. Chiefs have done a great job of controlling those, and this is once again opening them up to pick up more neutral objectives on the map. It's a Mountain Drake, so the two of them means they can take Baron really fast if they get an open.
Oh yeah. They're actually looking for Raze right there. He has to jump away. And when you speak about agency, this is the difference. You know, the control that Gravitas earned, as we may have to hang on a second. Pabu trouble.
is in the 1v2 into Rune Prison. And probably death he goes, although he hops that party portal taken, flashing. If Pabu can get away from this one, he's going to have to rename himself Houdini, but Claire makes sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, no Pabu Dini this time. He goes down. They lock him down with the good Rise ultimate as well. They had the summoners if necessary. Swiper could have chased him. It's clever from Pabu, having the flash, knowing he could just play the wall game. But
Still
they
feels
get
bad.
the kill,
Still
and they
feels
get
bad to
pressured
lose
in.
your flash, the kill, and yeah, here's the pressure game once again. So Chiefs pick up even more. I said the double mountain's good for Baron, but it's just as good for knocking down turrets. And when you've got Raze on the Tristana, poking him away like that, like, this is big damage. And he's playing kind of with impunity almost on the front line, which should be a big alarm bell ringing for Gravitas.
Yeah, and it only gets worse from here. Raze with 3 items done now, so he has the wave clear. He's got the triple crit items completed, and he's even buying control wards. AD carries at home.
Spawn is going to be very happy about that.
He knows how to play this game, and they're setting up now with the kills that they've got, with the control that they've just earned. And you mentioned the Mountain Dragons, absolutely true for how quickly they'll get the Baron. And this is where you start to feel really pressured if you're Gravitas. All the hard work that they did, just undone in almost one moment, where Claire gets an opportunity to go bottom, where Only and Claire get an opportunity to do the Dragon. And it's because you spend so much time setting up in one quadrant, the second you go somewhere else, you're picked.
This is what a team of the Chiefs' caliber can absolutely do. I mean, they come into this week looking weaker than they have, but that isn't saying much considering the fact that they'd been on top of the OPL. And I think that was, I don't want to say like the most surprising thing in the OPL, but they definitely weren't considered like title contenders off the bat.
Yeah, they always thought they were going to grow into it.
Yeah. But they came out hot in the beginning. And,
They did,
and
which surprised
just
even
looked great.
themselves if you ask them, you know, like everyone expected to improve as time went on. But here they are. They've had some hiccups, but still strong. Still a very commanding team that commands respect. And here's my concern, Pyra, for the rest of this game. If you're Gravitas, you want them to start Baron. You invite the opportunity to get a Jarvan Galio combo into the Baron pit, follow it up with Syndra damage, Xayah team fighting. Like, you relish in the fact that that's an objective they need to close out the game. As long as you don't lose any more gold during this stakeout period where you wait for them to kick it off.
So what's the concern?
The concern is for the Chiefs.
Oh, if they started. Yeah, that's fair.
How are they going to get the Baron without losing a big team fight or playing into Gravitas' game? And that's where the 1-3-1 comes in, right? That's where 2 teleports comes in, and that's a concern for Gravitas.
Yeah. So the concern is traded all around is what you're saying. I love it.
Yeah, it's win conditions, one might even say.
Fair enough. And it is hard to play a 1-3-1, but again, Chiefs are not, at this point, 7 wins and 3 losses for nothing. They've been able to play difficult compositions before, and they do scale up well, right? Like in the very beginning of the game, we were questioning why they seem so pressured to act and make these plays, but this is the point of the game where they start getting stronger. You've got a 4-kill Rise. He has a lot of damage, upgraded Seraph's Embrace and everything. You've got a 3-item Tristana that can start to sting.
And they start to outrange their opponents too. That's the big scary thing here. Is this Tristana? QSS now on. Ooh, that was
hook
close.
was a pixel away. Harry does have cleanse, but I think he'd rather not have to use it.
Oh yeah, but so was the Lee Sin Q. It was very close to hitting, and you can't cleanse that one.
No, that's also true. Only is another latent threat on this team. Try and get in there, get those picks off. And talked about Chiefs being a little more dependent on some of those picks. And you get some major damage dealer down, that can mean a discount Baron pickup.
You really want to get the flash off Raze. That's one of the biggest things that you need to get right now if you're Gravitas and you want to win a team fight, because you can't flash taunt the Tristana anymore.
The Chiefs don't want the team fight.
Can no longer engage.
Chiefs just don't want the team fight at all. Like, look what they keep doing on these side lanes. Finally, Claire finishes off mid-inner, and there isn't a response from Gravitas because they're 5-stacking.
I mean, they can't do anything else. I don't know who send to deal with the Rise right now. Oh, hang on.
Hello, they've sent everyone to deal with the Rise right now, and it looks like Claire will die. Shut down, given over to Raid. He's pretty happy about that. But let's see what the reaction, the response is. What can Gravitas do to follow up?
I kind of wonder what Claire was doing in that area, but he does go down at the enemy red buff. Regardless, that is a good pick for Gravitas.
Yeah.
It buys them a whole host of time, a whole host of control in that jungle they wanted to control ever so dearly.
But they are using it to really push back on waves right now. They can't do anything like rush the Baron down as easily. Get some control back in, reset the game, the tempo.
I'm feeling it. I think there's going to be a pentakill in this game.
Yeah? Who's going to get it?
Raze or Raid. It's going to be a battle of the Ras.
There's your tagline. We've had so many today. I would say it's Raze, but I'm very partial to reset champions.
Well, Raze is the penta guy.
That's what I mean.
That's just his thing.
He's also on Tristana. I feel like it's a lot harder to get one on Xayah.
While that is true, I still feel like it. It's going to happen.
Okay. In your bones.
Raid's got twitchy fingers, man. I reckon he's got it in him.
Okay. Well, let us know on Twitter. # IamOPL. Who's going to get a pentakill this game?
And why, if you don't say Raid, you're wrong. Feel free to tell me.
Fair enough. Watch it be like Swiper.
Swiper. That'd be a miracle.
That would be weird. On
the tank Urgot comes in and smacks
whoa,
them all.
hold on. He's got a black cleaver. He has damage and cooldown reduction.
And let's not list the rest of his items.
Shh. Bramble Vest. It does damage when people attack you. You all should just see Rusty's face right now. He's just short-circuited.
I don't want to warrant that with a response.
Well, we don't have to, fortunately, because the Baron's been started by Gravitas. With the control they had, they do turn their attention onto Swiper, and he just flashes out of the Thunderdome.
And you can take a Jarvan ult trade for a flash, but they go back to the pit and they're trying to force again. So this is super risky. They are playing a dangerous game here, Gravitas. Rise is getting an inhib during this. They may just go for a steal with Lee.
They might just do a decoy trying
to
stall it out. It's going to get taken down by Raid. And now it's a 5v4 fight, but Gravitas getting chunked out pretty heavily. They still win the fight to kick things off.
They're stuck in the pit.
But they're going to have to try and jump out. There's another flash. It is Baron traded for 1 kill and an inhibitor for Claire.
Yeah, that felt super scary, though, for the Chiefs. They didn't just go for the steal. They put themselves into the pit. They took almost the fight with it as well.
That was a weird fight, though.
And they forced flashes on the backside. So you actually are really happy with that trade if you're the Chiefs. Now the onus is entirely on Gravitas. You have the Baron buff, which means you need to make the play. but you do not have the flashes. You have 2 flashes left on your team and a Hex flash on Decoy on his Galio, which maybe over a wall can connect, but there's a QSS on the Trist who can then ult you away. You know, like it's a hard to execute follow-up here from Gravitas, and an inhibitor, in contrast to that, is always going to be valuable for you.
Yeah.
It is the furthest away point from Baron as well, if you continue to pressure that side of the map, and someone has to deal with it at all times.
Gravitas are going to try to pressure into the jungle as well. You can tell they're hoping for picks here. Now, Ayla does hook in Decoy. He still wants it, so Ayla's forced to flay him back. And meanwhile, they're really only pushing one side of this map. They've got Pabu bot lane, but look what's happening top. Claire's just matching the pressure.
Oh yeah, he's going to do it again. Now, Claire doesn't have teleport or flash, so keep that in mind.
got
The
Realm Warp,
Gravitas will be able to try and force or pressure away their opponents from turrets now, because Claire cannot physically join the fight, even though he is very strong.
Now it's
Oh, the
mid
kick!
lane. Oh, it looks like Harry is going to get nearly chunked to 0, but only couldn't finish the job. Raid picks up a kill. Harry's limping away from this one, but meanwhile, Claire continues top lane unabated.
The Baron recall is there from Harry. He's going to be able to push in, but the inhibitor is already dead. That was so clean from Only. The only tragedy is that the Lantern was used to protect what felt like Raze and doesn't get him out to safety. But at the end, the inhibitor goes down. That's what matters the most for the Chiefs. So you would say that that play from Only was worth it.
It's just guerrilla warfare from Claire, too. He gets in, he gets out. Gravitas not responding in time. And now they find both sides of their base really in shambles. Even with this Baron buff, it's hard for them to push.
And isn't it frustrating to watch a team split push to victory? They're not even 1-3-1ing. They're bringing Swiper in as the tank. They put the tank in front of Gravitas and said, you cannot step past this area. And Ryze is legitimately winning the game by himself, just hitting structures. Nothing is more frustrating in League of Legends than losing to split pushing. And that can cause frustrations. That can get you flustered. Can make you force things you don't want. But Chiefs perhaps on the force
They're the one trying to. Looks like Swiper, he was sidestepping that Scout of the Week. Can't really dodge all the orbs out, but it is Chiefs on the attack here. Pabu has no teleport. You have to walk the long way around. There's another good scatter, but Gravitas aren't able to follow the damage.
No QSS
Decoy.
for Raid either, or for Raze.
They don't want this fight. They're going to have to respond to the bottom. Super minions pushing.
Ryze
Party portal. Looks like Chiefs going for the mid.
perhaps looking for people recalling in a safe position. Of course, you think you're safe, you're no longer. But they get there, they clear the minions immediately.
Yeah. I thought they were going for the hit and run on the mid turret.
I actually suspected there was a raid, but no, it was down mid lane. Gravitas now hunting.
And they found Harry. He has the cleanse, but the damage is just enough. And Raze gets that crit. Feathers flying up for Raid, but he's going to get popped into his Guardian Angel as well. The turnaround on the fight on two fronts here. Praelis looking for Ayla, now looking for Swiper. Pabu inside with the World Ender, forcing the flash out of Ayla. The hook back. They've got the Aatrox once again. Decoy goes in, but the rest of his team not on the same page. Turnaround. It's Raze looking for damage on the charge. Doesn't find it. Meanwhile, into Rune Prison, Pabu! That's going to be his Guardian Angel forced once again. Decoy, he might be running out of steam here to try and keep his team healthy.
Raze is
forward,
flashing.
Raze! Gets the Buster Shot, not enough for the kill, but it will open up the base, and the third inhibitor will fall in favor of the Chiefs.
And this delicate game that the Chiefs have been playing allows them to force once they have enough of a lead. Once the minions start to crash, now it doesn't result in a Nexus turret falling, but that's 3 inhibitors gone for Gravitas. And I mean, honestly, the gold difference is 100 gold. It's not even a difference. They're dead even. But the Chiefs have so much map control, and they are just running them around the rift. They get the Elder. Baron's up in a minute 20. And Gravitas are on their last stand.
Now, this is one of those games where gold doesn't really tell the story of how it's gone down. Gravitas have lost all 3 turrets, or all 3 inhibitors. 2 of them to just finesse, side plays. Great playing by Chiefs this game to really force Gravitas to respond. The first couple of minutes, it seemed like Chiefs were the ones under pressure of their own making. But ever since then, they've dictated the tempo, and now they have a 4-Dragon Elder.
It's a super scary Tristana from now on.
Yeah, you still think
Say,
Raid's going to be the one getting the Penta?
I would say a rapid. Oh, look, they're going to win it, yes.
Only is jumped on, and Lantern.
I don't know if you want to pick a fight right now, but they are going to force. They feel like they have to.
Flash in the taunt. Do they have the damage to finish the job? Praelis hops in. They get 2 Guardian Angels pop
Raze
left and
jumps.
right. Raze goes around the side. Look at those crits. He's firing them off. And Gravitas are battered and bruised. Decoy's going to fall down. Raze picks up 1 QSS early on. Pabu completely out of this fight, and he's one of the last members standing as Harry trying to limp away the double kill, and that should open up the base for the game.
And that should be game over here. Chiefs at 37 minutes will be able to lock it down. It's a long game, but it's a methodical game. It's a methodical victory in the end. They force Gravitas. They pull and push them around the rift until they get exactly what they're after, and they get back on the board with another win.
It was a rough week 5 for Chiefs Esports Club, but at the end of the day, through finesse, through planned and calculated gameplay, they take the victory over Gravitas to get back on the board.
And that's one of the things that makes the Chiefs so scary. It's their individual talent on top of their ability to play around the map as well. They've got the vision set up. Only a couple of small hiccups here and there, but a hard force composition, an R-button composition from Gravitas, taking on a split-pushing style. To see the split-pushing team win what you would call the harder-to-execute composition to win is always going to be a positive for the team that can win with that. It shows that they've got good mastery over their mechanics, but also of their macro play.
And they neutralized some of the pop-off pressure of those carries that Gravitas had. I mean, I spent a good chunk of the early game talking about Harry, and in the wins Gravitas picked up, he was a monster. But he was really held to not being able to do much there. There were moments where Gravitas could try and force, not just using him, but using everybody on their squad, like Pralus, for instance. But in those situations where Gravitas got the jump, Chiefs outplayed him. I mean, I want to give some massive props to Claire. I mean, he was just two-stepping on the rise.
Yeah, he was having some very good moments, but he was trying very hard to outplay people and not always in the correct positions, but he's a good enough player to make it work, and that's what you can take away from Claire. He is just a good enough player to make some crazy things happen. He's a miracle worker at times and has always been a big stage player in the clutch games, and that's one of the big things as to why you would want Claire on your team.
I'm certain the Chiefs are happy to have him, and they just picked up another win here to start off week 6. Let's send it back over to the couch to break it down further.
Chiefs indeed took that one out, but it went back and forth for most of that game.
Yeah, it certainly did. It ended up being in like this 1-3-1 into 4-1 composition. There was very obviously like a Jarvan Galio into a split push threat, and I think Chiefs did play very well around that fact. There was like, it came to a head very late in the game where like the goal was actually genuinely very even. From the very start, there was a very botched gank from the top side of Gravitas, double flash onto Swiper, he doesn't die. AD carry and raid, he dies very early. So to be able to pull it back from that point and set up is good, but Chiefs ultimately, they just had the number.
Yeah, and that was just a really good game, to be honest. Like, as Bryce said, like, conflicting styles there. You see how comfortable Chiefs are in a 4-1 and a 1-3-1 scenario, like dragging people around the map. And I think that this is why mid-season's so fun, right? Because at the start of the year, whoever has the better cohesion wins the game. Because you're playing like 5 individuals versus a team. The team will always win. I think that's what we
really hard.
Yeah, I think that's what we saw like for the first 3 weeks, right? Whereas right now, I think that we're actually seeing teams level up like their understanding and their identity of how they want to play the game. So even though Gravitas lost this game, I think this was a really good identity game for Gravitas because they played like really true to what their core was. They got a Baron from playing to what their core was. And I ultimately think if they had to push that mid lane fight a little bit further, they would have won this game based on what their core was. They didn't try and respond to the 1-3-1. They caught a wave and then they tried to force mid. And I think that that's a really positive side for a young team.
Yeah, because from like both sides, there were very close moments to just ending. You talk about the mid push where they get a single pick. Claire is TP-less in top lane and not committing to like go down the rabbit hole of like, we're just going to end the game faster if we run it up mid. But then also like that last team fight, like it's against an Elder Dragon and the engage did end up looking good. They got the early pick, but I mean, if it was Rusty, maybe he would say that Claire gave them everything and more in that last team fight. A huge bounce on the back end. Quinny K is on the other side just being Tristana, and a very brave Tristana in that. He's like jumping forward multiple times in that game, and the carries at the back end for Chiefs really pulled it through.
And that's what I wanted to compliment the Chiefs on is like, you know, you talk about solid team identity and the ability to execute. Well, the Chiefs are the most 4-1 team fighting, like get into a game, like, and even though they played like 1-3-1 this whole game, like then in the last team fight, they just group up mid and they still force the team fight. Sure, they had the advantage to be able to do it, but they're just like so fun when you get to watch how they like play cohesively. Claire and Raze very rarely stand on top of each other. Swiper is always at the front of the team fight. They just have very good bones to like their team, and carries are real freaking good. Like real good players.
All right, well, another victory for Chiefs. A good way to start the weekend, and I think Raze would agree. He's at the desk with Pyro.
I think that's fair, especially after last week. Raze, you guys bounced back from your only losing week so far in the OPL, so how does it feel to open this up with a win?
It feels pretty good. I think that was probably our longest win in the OPL though, but I think we're pretty happy. we probably played a bit too passive early game, especially for the lead we got bot, but pretty happy about the win.
Yeah. Too passive? It seemed like you guys were forcing a lot of plays early on, especially in that bottom lane.
I think after like that first kill we got onto Raid, and then the following dive onto Decoy, we should have been able to punish that a bit harder, but still did pretty well for ourselves.
Fair enough. You guys played a very finesse composition. You know, as they were saying on the couch, you kind of like let things kind of push and pull, and you were just using the side wave pressure really well against Gravitas. So for your team, do you kind of feel like it gives you an edge that you can execute those types of compositions at ease when a lot of other teams seem to struggle with them?
I wouldn't say we could execute them at ease. We're not very, like, obviously we're more of the team fighting team, which is why at the end that's what it came down to. But yeah, of course, like, every team wants to be like versatile, to be able to play multiple styles, and I like that we can do that.
So was this game like kind of a test to see how well you could actually pull that off? It seemed the draft was kind of geared towards it.
We didn't really draft towards, I guess we didn't think that's what like the draft would come down to. We didn't really, when we draft, I don't think we like draft to go towards a certain comp. Like we just draft to how we, I don't know, we draft to our opponents, I guess, and obviously last week like that bit us a bit badly, so yeah.
So just kind of leveling it up. It's interesting that things can kind of shift up in the midst of a game and you guys realize that maybe this is the best strategy we can take on. So for Chiefs, obviously, you're still pretty up ahead in the standings, even though you had a rough week last time around. Do you feel like the team is at close to the form you'd want to be heading in to the Gauntlet and the post-split?
I think early on in the split, that's where we felt like we wanted to be. And then obviously last week, we had pretty good practice. And obviously, like, the picks looked really good in practice. And then on stage, like, they were just awful for us. So, yeah, I think this week we're trying to find where we want to be. And obviously going to playoffs, that's where we'll see.
So still a bit of climb to go. Well,
Yep.
You started out with a win. So far, so good. Thank you for joining me, Race.
Thank you.
All right, back to the couch.
All right.
All
What's
right.
that smile?
I just like that Ray's never